My next source tonight is Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, a Republican who has been outspoken about opposing this new fund. Congressman, do you agree with the acting attorney general there that this is how Americans want their taxpayer dollars to be spent?
I do not, Caitlin. Every dime that we spend ought to be going to, and especially with people in mind, over half of Americans that are living paycheck to paycheck. That's got to be at the forefront of every single House and Senate member's mind with every dime that we appropriate. So for that and many other reasons, I am completely objecting to this, and I'm going to do everything I can to fight it.
Did anything that Todd Blanche said about this fund in that interview with Paula reassure you?
No. So first and foremost, Caitlin, the executive branch does not have any money in its own right. Every dime they have is appropriated by Congress. So I sent a letter to Mr. Blanche today, posing some very basic questions. He's got a June 1st deadline to get me the answers of where this money is coming from. Obviously, it was appropriated to DOJ as part of an appropriations bill. We want to know what account that money currently resides in. Where is he pulling it from? What authority they have to do this. We'll give them a chance to answer. But this is a debate that needs to be had and will be had, Caitlin, on the floor of the House, and it will be voted on. This is not a unilateral executive decision. If you're dealing with appropriated money, that's got to come through us.
What happens if the deputy or if the acting attorney general doesn't respond to your letter?
Well, there's going to be consequences. We need to unpack. The reason why we asked him questions is we need to unpack what the genesis of this funding is so that we know how to go about resolving this, right? I mean, depending on what that answer is going to depend on what we can do, because we're trying to figure out what our jurisdictional ability is under Article 1 authority and where Article 1 authority ends and Article 2 authority begins. But we need the answers to some basic questions, which is kind of the point of the problem here, is that we don't even know the answers to those questions. So we're going to get them, and if we don't, we'll deal with it either in this year's appropriations or in remedial legislation, which my team is working on right now.
He says that they are being transparent, that this is fake outrage because nothing has happened yet and the commissioners have not been named. Do you think that's why people are outraged about this fund?
Well, listen, anytime you come up with an idea, you got to socialize it with people that are decision makers, particularly in the legislative branch. And I think part of the problem is, we see these stories generally breaking out of the news media without, any kind of detail. Constituents get rightly concerned. And then we respond to our constituents' concern. That's our job, is to represent the people back home. I can tell you the people that I represent, very independent-minded people in Bucks and Montgomery counties in Pennsylvania. They want me to look into this, and I'm going to, and we're gonna fight hard against it. And I'm very confident, Caitlin. We have the wherewithal on our team to break this down, to get to the root of and the genesis of where this funding is coming from, and we'll come up with a game plan.
Senator Bill Cassidy over in the Senate came out against this tonight, also criticizing it for similar reasons that you criticized it for, talking about, people can't afford gas right now or struggling to make ends meet, and this is what the DOJ is spending money on. You're the first Republican that I've seen that formally went to the DOJ with your letter demanding answers from Todd Blanche. But are there other Republican lawmakers that you've spoken with who agree with you?
Well, I'm a lifelong FBI agent and federal prosecutor, and I'm going to take the lead on this, and I'm recruiting other colleagues of mine. I've spoken to several of them on the House floor. They want to see what we're putting together legislatively, and yes, there is quite a bit of interest on both sides of the aisle, quite frankly. They approached me on the House floor today.
If you could get something passed on this in the House and in the Senate, and that's an if, the president would have to sign it. And so what would you do then?
Well, the backstop, that's a great question. The backstop is always appropriations, we're in appropriation season now. We're going to have to pass a DOJ appropriations bill in short order. So we're going to factor that into how we approach that, right? I mean, these are, the brilliance of our founders is they set up a system of government where all three branches are independent constitutional checks on the other, and each have authorities that the other doesn't. We're going to use our Article 1 authority to make sure that we are providing a check that the American people want us to do on things like this.
Yeah.
These are taxpayer dollars. We have half of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Every dime we spend out of the federal treasury ought to be very mindful with those people in mind, right? And we have to have priorities. Budgets are a set of priorities of what's important. A lot of times you have a lot of important things. You have to make tough choices. But that all factors into the analysis here.
One thing that, even just as a member of Congress, as a Republican, as a person, the administration won't rule out is just saying that people who beat up cops that day, of which there are videos. The vice president yesterday was saying, well, maybe they didn't get a fair hearing or a fair court case. There's videos of the people who beat up the cops that you can watch that was used to convict them by a jury of their peers. Does it make sense to you why they won't just rule it out for the people who were literally beating up law enforcement?
No, it should be an easy question to answer. I don't know why they're having such difficulty answering it. I can answer it. Not a dime should go to them. Not a single dime.
Joining me now in the group chat, Elena Schneider, national political reporter from Notice, Mike Dubke, former Trump White House communications director, and Megan Hayes, former Biden White House director of message planning. I want to start with you, Mike, because we're talking about these Republicans who are pushing back. What do you think it is about this reparations fund that they are somehow feeling confident they can push back on publicly?
Well, they must feel like they have the votes. Bottom line, I don't see any of these folks stepping out if they don't think in the House, with the slim margins. If they don't have the votes, I don't see them coming forward on this.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Especially after these primaries earlier in the week.
Well, yes.
Right, where the
especially,
message was sent that Trump can...
A very clear message was sent.
And yet, here we are in the middle of the week.
We are, but these are the primaries that are at the end of primary season. So a number of these lawmakers have already had filing deadlines pass, or the primaries happen. So we can get that out of the way. The other part of this is, and the part that wasn't mentioned in the lead up, is this get out of jail free card for Trump and the Trump family.
MS Now's Kevin Fry is reporting from Capitol Hill. Ashley Parker is staff writer for The Atlantic and an MS Now political analyst. And Tara Setmayer is former GOP communications director and co-founder and CEO of the Seneca Project. So, Kevin, MS Now spoke to one of the Republican congressmen leading the charge against Trump's anti-weaponization fund, Brian Fitzpatrick. What did he say?
Yeah, look, he has warned that this is, in his view, a dangerous backsliding in the transparency of our institutions. He spoke to our colleague Jack Fitzpatrick about his plans, which include rolling out legislation to block this outright.
We're going to introduce a bill. We're trying to get our arms around what jurisdiction we have. So we need to unpack the source of the funding. And that's our question to Todd Blanche is, where is this money coming from? I don't think it's an appropriate use of money. Let's just put it that way. Nor do I think the ballroom is an appropriate use of money. Our job is to represent a district. We don't report to any person or any party in this town. It's not how our system of government works. We report to people back home. They're the ones that we work for.
And that last comment there about his fear of potential backlash from Trump. He, of course, represents a rather competitive district in Pennsylvania. But this speaks to a larger theme that we're seeing in these last few days, that despite Trump's successes when it comes to knocking people out,
the footage dropped without warning, cutting across international feeds and exploding across social media within minutes. What began as a vague rumor quickly turned into a full-scale media storm as outlets scrambled to verify what they were seeing. A video, allegedly sourced from Russian intelligence channels, appeared to show behind-the-scenes moments involving Donald Trump that had never been made public before. At first, many dismissed it as another fabricated clip, the kind that surfaces during tense political cycles. But this time, something felt different. Analysts pointed to the clarity of the audio, the consistency of the timestamps, and the presence of individuals whose identities could be independently verified. Within hours, experts in digital forensics were pulled in, and their early assessments only deepened the mystery. The video itself is said to contain a series of private conversations, recorded in what appears to be a secure setting. Voices resembling Trump and several close associates can allegedly be heard discussing sensitive strategies, with references that critics claim could have serious implications if proven authentic. The tone of the conversation is described as unusually candid, lacking the guarded language typically used in public appearances. As clips circulated online, reactions poured in from every corner of the political spectrum. Supporters immediately questioned the timing, suggesting the release was strategically designed to influence public perception. They argued that without full verification, the footage should be treated as suspicious, especially given its origin. Some even claimed it could be part of a broader disinformation campaign. On the other side, critics seized on the video as potential evidence of long-standing concerns. They called for immediate investigations, urging officials to determine not only the authenticity of the footage but also how such material could have been obtained in the first place. The possibility that a foreign entity might possess and release such recordings raised serious national security questions. Meanwhile, major news organizations approached the situation cautiously. Rather than broadcasting the video in full, many opted to describe its contents while awaiting confirmation. This careful approach did little to slow the spread online, where millions had already viewed and shared the footage, often with their own interpretations attached. Government officials remained largely silent in the early hours, a silence that only fueled speculation. Behind closed doors, however, reports suggested that intelligence agencies were actively assessing the situation. The key questions were clear. Is the video real? If so, when was it recorded? And perhaps most importantly, why release it now? As the day unfolded, new fragments of information began to emerge. Some sources claimed the footage had been in possession of Russian operatives for years, held back until a moment deemed most impactful. Others suggested it might have been recently acquired through undisclosed means. Each theory added another layer of complexity to an already tangled narrative. Public trust became a central issue. In an era where deepfakes and digital manipulation are increasingly sophisticated, distinguishing truth from fabrication has never been more challenging. Experts warned that even if parts of the video were genuine, they could have been selectively edited to create a misleading impression. Trump's representatives quickly responded, issuing statements that strongly denied the authenticity of the footage. They labeled it a blatant attempt to smear his reputation and distract from other ongoing developments. According to them, the video was nothing more than a politically motivated attack amplified by foreign interference. Despite the denials, pressure continued to mount. Calls for transparency grew louder, with demands for independent investigations gaining traction. Lawmakers from multiple parties expressed concern, emphasizing the need to address both the content of the video and the broader implications of foreign involvement in domestic affairs. Social media platforms found themselves at the center of the storm, struggling to balance the rapid spread of the video with policies on misinformation. Some attempted to limit its reach, while others allowed it to circulate freely, citing public interest. The result was a fragmented information landscape where different audiences were exposed to entirely different versions of the story. As night fell, the situation remained unresolved. The video had already left a significant impact, shaping conversations and dominating headlines worldwide. Whether it would ultimately be proven authentic or dismissed as another elaborate hoax was still uncertain. What was clear, however, was that the release had achieved one undeniable outcome. It forced a global audience to confront difficult questions about truth, power, and the influence of unseen actors operating behind the scenes. And as investigations continue, the world waits to see what, if anything, will come next. The next phase of the story unfolded even faster than the initial leak. As investigators dug deeper into the origins of the video, conflicting reports began to surface, each one adding more uncertainty to an already volatile situation. Intelligence analysts reportedly started tracing the digital fingerprints tied to the release, attempting to map out how the footage traveled from its alleged source to global platforms in such a short span of time. Behind the scenes, cybersecurity teams focused on metadata, compression patterns, and encoding anomalies,